Now, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, Roman Abramovich, has begun giving evidence in a case brought against him by another Russian billionaire and his former business partner, Boris Berezovsky. Well, Sky's Tom Parmenter is at the High Court. And Tom, remind us of the background of this case.
Well, this has been going on for 4 weeks now, and it's given us a real insight, a glimpse into Planet Oligarch, these mega-rich Russian businessmen and the world and the lives that they lead and their relationships between each other. Now, the relationship between Boris Berezovsky and the Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich has gone very badly wrong, and that is why they are here in court fighting it out over what is essentially an issue of breach of trust, breach of contract. We've heard through the case that Boris Berezovsky has very much been a father figure, a political mentor to Roman Abramovich, but the relationship has flipped really as Roman Abramovich has become much more powerful and more rich than Boris Berezovsky. Now, this goes back to Boris Berezovsky feeling betrayed and hoodwinked about the selling of shares in an oil company in Russia, and he says that that amounts to a breach of trust and also a breach of contract, and is due £3 billion worth of damages from the Chelsea Football Club owner. Now, Roman Abramovich has been explaining through a written statement to the court, and now he's on his feet explaining himself the fact that through the 1990s he had been making regular payments to Boris Berezovsky as a kind of protection, both in terms of political protection and physical protection, and really that has continued. And in 2001 there was an episode in the French Alps that kind of threw a bit of light on just how these men do business, an episode when £800 million was exchanged between the two parties as a kind of cutting the ties, if you like, between Roman Abramovich and Boris Berezovsky. Now, Roman Abramovich says that there was no breach of contract and that he doesn't owe anything to Mr. Boris Berezovsky, and therefore the case is unjust. But nevertheless, he is on his feet giving evidence here in London, and that evidence may last for perhaps 4 or 5 days, and within that we may hear further details of exactly just what has been going on between these two men. It is a fascinating insight, not least, of course, because we very rarely hear from the Chelsea owner himself.
Well, that's right. As you say, a real insight into the life of a Russian oligarch. And some of the figures that are being talked about, Tom, are just eye-watering, aren't they? Huge amounts of money involved.
Yes, they are. I mean, Roman Abramovich, of course, came into Chelsea Football Club quite a few years ago now and has played a high-profile role, but taken very much a back seat in terms of when it comes to talking about his investments, talking about his business life. That is why there are 2 rooms inside the court behind me that are dedicated to the journalists who are wanting to cover this, wanting to hear what Roman Abramovich has got to say, not least from Russia. An awful lot of Russian journalists following very closely this evidence that is, I say, starting here this afternoon and could go on for 5 days from Roman Abramovich. And the eye-watering sums of money, worth £3 billion worth of damages, is what is being claimed by Boris Berezovsky. Mr. Roman Abramovich will be outlining over the next week why he should not be paying that kind of money. It would amount, if he lost this case, Roman Abramovich, to around half of his personal fortune. So an awful lot at stake here in the courts in the central of London.
Tom Parmenter, thank you.